We've talked about Royce Williams, the man who waited 74 years for the Medal of Honor. And we've talked about Alonzo Cushing, who waited 150 years for his recognition. And we've talked about the ghosts of the front line. But today we're talking about a man who didn't just wait for recognition. He had to wait for history to catch up to his courage. Staff Sergeant Ruben Rivers was a man from Tecumseh, Oklahoma. He led the legendary Black Panthers, the 761st Tank Battalion. They were the first African American tank unit to enter combat in World War II. And they had to fight two wars, one against the Nazis and one against the systemic prejudice that said they didn't belong in the tank corps. This is the story of a hero the system tried to forget. Today, we're finally telling the story that the military spent half a century burying. Ruben Rivers, Staff Sergeant Company A, 761st Tank Battalion. And this story isn't just about a medal, it's about the soul of the Black Panthers. The 761st was elite. They were trained to be the best, and they proved it on the battlefield. But they were deployed into a military culture that didn't want them there. Constituted in 1942, the battalion trained in the segregated Jim Crow South at Camp Claiborne, Louisiana. Now you know that had to be rough. They probably weren't even ever allowed to leave base. And because military policy barred them from serving alongside white troops, they remained an independent armored unit. The Black Panthers landed in Normandy, France in October of 1944. Got assigned to Patton's 3rd Army Corps, 26th Infantry Division, spending 183 days on the front lines. They were in various battles, including the Battle of the Bulge, and they were central in the push through Europe. Now, leave me a comment. Why do you think it took so long, decades, for the military to properly honor units like the 761st? Was it simple oversight or was there more to it? Let me know in the comments. These weren't just tankers, they were a brotherhood. They were spearheading the push through the Siegfried Line, and whenever the line stalled, the 761st was a hammer the Army called to break it. Staff Sergeant Rivers wasn't just a leader, he was the soul of that battalion. It's 16 November 1944. Company A of the 761st Tank Battalion is advancing toward the town of Goubling in France. Staff Sergeant Rivers' tank hits a mine at a railroad crossing, and although severely wounded, his leg is slashed to the bone. Staff Sergeant Rivers declined an injection of morphine and refused to be evacuated. Not only that, he took command of another tank and advanced with his company into Goubling the next day. Now, this is just gallantry at the peak. Rivers is severely wounded. His leg is slashed to the bone. He's wrapped a bandage around it and then takes command of another tank and is on day 2 of the action. He has repeatedly refused to be evacuated. Now, here comes day 3. It's 19 November 1944. Dawn. You know the stench. Fuel, burning, dead. Company A's tanks advanced toward the village of Burgolthoff. And Rivers' leg has not been treated. He's had no morphine. They've barely had time to nap and eat. They're in day 3 of the action and 3 days since that wound. Now, the advance halts when they become pinned down by German fire. It's a slaughterhouse. Company Commander Captain David G. Williams orders the tanks to withdraw. Staff Sergeant Rivers radios that he has spotted the German anti-tank positions and says, "I can see them. We're going to fight them." He climbed into his tank with that shattered, agonizing leg, and he charged. Another tank from Company A joined him, and they both headed and fired on the German positions. They went right to the German line, drawing every ounce of mortar and machine gun fire toward his position, giving his men the precious seconds they needed to reorganize. He didn't make it back. He died in that burning tank. He gave everything. Yet it took over 50 years for the nation to finally pin the Medal of Honor on his family's chest. That's not just a delay, that's a failure. And that's a failure of history that we're correcting right now. Now, we've linked Ruben Rivers' story to Royce Williams because both men represent the long wait. Whether it was a classified secrets, as in Williams' case, or an institutional bias in Rivers' case. These men were kept in the shadows. But just like Williams finally got his moment in 2026, Rivers' story is finally being told at the volume he deserves. He was a panther who roared when the world tried to silence him. Ruben Rivers is the definition of gallantry in action. He fought when he was broken. He fought when he was outnumbered. And he fought to keep his brothers alive. Now, let me know, is there anybody from your community that you think deserves to be remembered? Drop the name below. And if you missed our deep dive on the Ghost of the Front Line, Charles Hoffman, go check it out in the archives. My name's Kenny. This is Gallantry in Action. Leave us a like, subscribe, and comment. We'll see you next time. Stay legendary.